Welcome to the Love Positivism podcast. I'm Shireen Oberg, and I'm a yoga teacher and author devoted to the path of healing and heart-based living. And I want to help you to step into what you truly are and to your highest potential. On this podcast, I share with you tools and insights to help you move ever forward on your spiritual and healing path. With guests from all over the world, from different wisdom traditions, I wish to create a web of loving energy that permeates the whole world to create more love and peace. You can connect with me on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube for more guidance and love. Hello to all you loving beings. Thank you for being here today and welcome to this week's episode. I hope that you had a beautiful midsummer week and a beautiful full moon, which was so strong and potent for many of us. I heard back from many of you about having a deep sleep and a lot of dreams through that night. And I think it was a really beautiful touch for the start of the summer here in the Northern Hemisphere. And we entered into Cancer season, to slow down, to do a deeper inner healing, working with our emotions and intuition. So it's a time to really slow down now, and I love this month and this time and this season. And I'm really excited to share the podcast today with Danielle. She's a business and branding visionary, qualified teacher, lecturer, yoga teacher, and mentor. And she sees your potential and ability, which she then transforms into an authentic business. She started her journey in the creative industry as a designer and went on to build her own business. And now she merges both this her experience in business and combining this with the yogic philosophy and the merging of the divine feminine and masculine way of working. So in this episode we talk about how we can integrate the yogic philosophy into our everyday work, being very present in the now when creating a business, aligning the chakras and the energy of your business, and listening to your inner voice and the divine feminine energy merged with the divine masculine. So I think this is so beautiful, and this is the way the world is going now, to start to unify more and create a whole, so we're not fragmented and segmented. So I really would love for you to check out Danielle. She's also hosting a yoga retreat in Portugal this year in September, and her new program starts in July. If you want to join that, you have her links in the show notes. And I just want to thank my beautiful show sponsors and partners, Ace of Air. They're a newly launched beauty and wellness brand committed to products that put people and planet above all. Their line of clean, vegan, and cruelty-free skincare and supplements have been synergistically formulated at the intersection of herbalist wisdom and modern science, focusing on rituals that work from the inside out. And they are also very inspired by Mother Nature. And it's such a beautiful brand that I think is so holistic and healing for the earth. They are taking the inspiration from Mother Earth's ability to create abundance without waste, and they are entirely circular and fully zero waste. So you can check them out. It's conceived by nature, infused with time-honored wisdom, and supported by research as well. You can find them in the links in the show notes and also on their website, aceofair.com, and on Instagram as well. And I would love to hear from you what you've been practicing throughout these weeks, as I've been also launching my book, and many of you have gotten the book, and if you have started reading it, please connect with me. I would love to see how it's a tool of growth for you on your own journey, and how you can integrate what I'm sharing in the book. Thank you so much for supporting me, and I really hope that we all can take this time to slow down, to integrate, and to really connect with our deep feminine wisdom that we have within us, and work with this element of water that Cancer season brings. So merging this very extroverted time of yang and fire and summer, and taking it all in, having the courage to slow down and also take time for yourself, being in your own nest and enjoying nurturing yourself and giving love to yourself that will pour to everything and everyone around you. And I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. Hi, Danielle. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello. Thank you for having me today.
So glad to have you here. And I want to ask you to share any type of mindfulness practice that you do on a daily basis.
Oh, on a daily basis, I practice yoga every morning and do some meditation with that. Try to listen to some yoga music and bring some embodiment into my practice as well. So this is something that I try to do like maybe for 30 minutes or an hour each morning.
That's lovely. Thank you for sharing that.
And I just think it's a great way to start the day.
So. Yeah, exactly. To start the day in a very mindful way is sets the tone for the day. So it's really a great start of the day. Thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah. And I'm excited to talk to you today. Maybe you can start by sharing who you are and what you do.
Okay, so my official title, I would say, is Holistic Entrepreneur Coach, which kind of sums everything up. So I am an entrepreneur coach, but I take a holistic approach because I'm a yoga teacher as well. So my background, I actually used to work in the creative industry, and I wanted to set up my own business. So I decided to do a MA, a master's in entrepreneurship and innovation. So I studied in London. And after that, I actually lectured in some colleges and universities on the subject. And then I decided to take the leap, set up my own business. So I created a yoga brand, a yoga clothing brand that's all eco-friendly. And then I surrounded myself in a very holistic yoga environment through my brand. I was always working with yoga teachers, and I really got heavily involved and went on this journey, this yoga journey myself. I was practicing every day, reading spiritual books. And then I decided to take the leap and do my yoga teacher training. So I did my yoga teacher training, and then I felt like I was really called to put all my things that I've learned together into kind of one package and use it as a service to help and guide other people. So now I use yoga philosophy with entrepreneurship, and I also use a little bit of neuroscience as well. And then I help and guide entrepreneurs on their journey. So yeah, this is what I do now.
Thank you for sharing. And how do you think that, because sometimes we can, when we start practicing yoga and meditation or spirituality, we can sort of feel like it's a separate part of everything else that we're doing. So maybe we do run a business or have or just employed, and we we have that, and then on the side we have our spiritual practice and philosophy, but not merging these aspects together. And I'm wondering, how have you, and maybe how you've been teaching this on a practical level, how to align more so it's more merged together, like yoga is, it's merging also.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting point actually, because a lot of people, especially in today's culture and society, we've been brought up to think these two things are separate from each other. We have our work and then our life, and these two things are separate because we've been brought up to think we have a 9 to 5 job, and then life is outside of that. But I think really, it's a union between our work is a part of our life. We spend the majority of our time at work, so this is our life. So it's really important for me as a holistic entrepreneur to bring those two things together, and create this alignment, because especially if I'm guiding an entrepreneur on their journey, should come from their core, their whether it's a service or a product, something they want to create or develop. This needs to really align with them as an individual person, because if it does align with them as an individual person, then it's more likely to be successful because it's more authentic. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. And I love something that you also create, because I think it's so beautiful to think about everything as energy, and that we have our own energy which correlates with nature's energies and different levels of our consciousness. And I love the uh, alignment that you made with the different chakras, and how you would incorporate that. Maybe you can explain that a little bit, and how you've come up with this process.
Yeah, sure. So I've written my book last year in lockdown. It's called Authenticity is Your Trademark, which kind of says everything in the title as well. Being authentic is your trademark. It sets you out from the crowd. It's your unique selling point because there's no one else like you on this planet. You are individual and unique. So I've written this book, and each chapter, there's 7 chapters, and each chapter is dedicated to one of the chakras. So I've set out my program, my entrepreneurial program, very much like my book, so it aligns with my book. So it's split up into 7 weeks, and each week we work through a different chakra. And also use my book as a little guide as well on the program. So I've kind of combined the chakras with business and entrepreneurship, because it's a really, really good way actually to analyze your business and maybe see where you could do a little bit more development, or where there needs to be a little bit more work, and where you're really good and where there's opportunities and strengths. So yeah, for example, I'll give you a little example. So the first chapter is about questioning your reality, the culture that you've been brought up into, very much. And then in the program, I dedicate that to your environment and making sure that you're in a really healthy environment. Is setting a foundation for you to start or develop your business, because if we don't have that foundation, then it's pretty hard to grow from there, whether it's personally or a business. So at the first chapter and the first part, I like to combine them. There's the chakras. There's the root chakra, it's questioning your reality and your environment. The second one is the sacral chakra, obviously, and that is all about creation. So it's about either being innovative or setting an intention. So it's something that you want to create, whether it's a product or a service, or it's an intention that you want to set. So it's a bit like your mission statement, I guess. It's something that, can really drive you, and you feel really passionate about, really creative about, because this is what this chakra is all about. It's about creation, it's about this sexuality, and And then the third one, the solar plexus. In the book, it's called Growing Your Own Grass. And this is all about drive, so your willpower. Sometimes entrepreneurs are really good at being creative. They can create a product or a service, but they can't bring it to market, or they don't have the self-confidence to really push that business forward. So this is dedicated to that, having the willpower to develop and drive. The fourth, in the book, it's called Blooming. And in my program, I like to focus on the operations, to how you can actually make this happen, make this work. And all the functions of a business. The fifth is obviously the throat chakra. So this is all about connections and communication. So in business, I'd like to say, like, how you connect with your clients, how you connect with your customers, how you can make that lasting sustainable client base, so it's more authentic. It's not like a sales drive. It's more of like, okay, I really, really connect with my customers. Therefore, my customers are magnetized towards me because they like my approach and they like what I'm saying. They hear my voice. They hear my mission. And so that's really about making the connection. The sixth is obviously our third eye. This is all about vision. So it's like your vision of your future or your business, where you want to take this. I really don't like the idea that people say, where can you see yourself in 5 years' time, or where can you see yourself in 2 years' time? I think this approach is actually very unrealistic, because no one knows what's going to happen in that future. But it is good to have goals, and it's good to have a vision, a realistic vision. So maybe like micro goals and then macro goals, where you can see yourself going. But also, like, sometimes we have these big visions and are really passionate and have lots of inspiration. But it's important, like, making little steps, I think, along the journey to get there, to get to the big one. And then the seventh is wisdom. So this is like, once you've feel like you're in alignment, and you've worked yourself through the process and you're really confident, then you can launch your business. So I like to say this is about the launch of your business, like really putting yourself out there and taking action. So this is the kind of process. I've aligned it with the chakras, because I think it's a journey, that we all kind of take, but I like to put a bit of strategy in there as well.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. It's really, I think also having, like you said, first of all, to be very present in what we're creating instead of always focusing so much in the future, because we're creating in the now. So we can have like a higher vision in the now as well, instead of focusing on constantly becoming or achieving something
Yeah,
that is
exactly.
beyond. Yeah, so I think that's really nice. And when we align like that, we feel like we're completely aligned and
Mm.
successful in the present, and just trusting the process. I think what we most of us have done most of our lives is to try to um, yeah, just focus so much on what we don't have and what we haven't created and what we have to do, and that's
Mm.
why most people are not following their passion either. And that comes back to the yogic philosophy also, like, why are we doing what we're doing? And is it for the sake of the physical, or is it for the sake of an inner journey and an inner development? Because what we're creating outside of us is always something that will change. Everything in the physical world will change, but if we're creating like a sustainable thing within us, and we're not so attached to everything that is outside of us that we're creating, then we can still find ease in everything that we do.
Yeah, yeah, I completely agree with you. I think it's really important to be rooted and present in the here and now, because you can make the most out of the opportunities in the here and now if you really are rooted in it. If you're kind of like too much thinking of the future or worrying, that can cause a lot of anxiety and stress, and therefore it can actually be detrimental to your growth. So I think it's really important to be grounded and yeah, take opportunities in the present moment. And that's why I like to work through this sequence, this chakra sequence, because obviously the first chakra is all about the roots. So that is questioning your reality in the terms of, you know, we've been brought up in society to think we should be doing this, we should do this at this age, and we should have this. If you don't tick all these boxes or don't fit in somewhere, then there's something wrong with you. So it's really coming back to listening to your inner voice and not disregarding the external, but putting a boundary up between the external and really listening internally to where you are being guided. So it's more authentic to your path rather than what the external world is telling you you should be doing. And I think when we are listening really internally, then we are more present in our everyday life. Yeah, so that's a really important part of the journey. Another part which I don't know whether you you wanted to get round to mentioning, but yeah, I really like to, for alignment as well, I really like to bring in a little bit of neuroscience. So I've looked at the left side and the right side of the brain and how they work, and I find it really interesting how in today's culture we focus prominently mainly on the left side of the brain, which is the masculine. I think it's like we use 80% of the left side of the brain. Um, so, you know, this is why we always think we should be doing something, because this is the masculine side of our brain, like very much taking action, which is great. You know, this has got a really good function, but we've kind of neglected a little bit the right side, which is the feminine. And this is where our intuition and our creativity lies. And I think, you know, if we can bring that union together, then we can have a really successful business, because we can have that creativity and that coming from a place of intuition, it really aligns with you. And then being able to take that forward, that drive forward by using the masculine side to really make it into a reality, to bring it to market. And yeah, and I think sometimes there's a little bit of imbalance. Sometimes people are really, I mean, my clients, sometimes they're really creative and you know, that it's amazing some of the things that they create, or the ideas that they have. But they just don't have that willpower to push it forward. And then on the other side, we have someone that can be really, like have this big drive, but then they don't really know where they're going with the drive because they've not connected to their feminine intuition. So yeah, I always like to think like it's a little bit like a car, you know, you kind of like following your intuition. So like, you know where you're going, but you need to turn on the gas, right, the fuel to actually get there. So yeah.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Um, just the part when we are so the yin and yang of our own essence and our own body and our also physical brain, how important it is to have a balance there. Because it's sometimes it's also like above and below and being grounded and also connected with ungroundedness, or how do you say, like up, being ascending but descending. I think when we do something too much, it's like in nature or anything that we do in life, it should be balanced. And when I was thinking about how we've lived our lives since we were children, and we've been mostly trained in the more direct, straight way, chronological way of sitting and studying and reading, which stimulates a part of us that is really intellectual and logical, but not so much trained at all. I mean, in school and in life in general, to how to use our intuition or connect with our emotions, resting, all of that. So it's an indoctrination by society. It's like become a part of us so deeply that we have to think about this, which is a natural ability, but we have to really train ourselves back to that balance and the merging of both aspects of us. Because if we focus all of our, it's like in yoga, the merging of Shiva and Shakti, or Shiva and Kali, or the divine feminine and masculine, they don't exist without each other. So they complete each other. It makes up the whole. So it's really important I've seen that in my own life. When I was in a career which was just really based on the left brain, and all of my life was revolved around that, then a lot of imbalances happen. And especially if you're sensitive and you're on this path that we are all on, I think, that are also listening to the podcast, we need to realign. And it comes out as the body telling us through being tired or exhausted or just not being balanced anymore on a physical level. So we have to listen to that. And then when we start aligning with both aspects of us, then these things, the ease comes back within us. I don't know if you've also experienced that in your life.
Yeah, I completely agree with everything you just said. It's, as I started this journey, I've been amazed at how everything is so interlinked with one another, like the yin and the yang, the masculine and the feminine. Our brains, the left side of the brain, the right side of the brain. You know, we think of it as something outside of ourselves, like a spiritual thing, but actually it's kind of embodiment as well. Like it's our brains are linked to this. It makes physical sense within our bodies. The way our brains work, it's so interesting. And yeah, I completely agreed with you about realigning to this. And, when I was at school, I've always been really creative, and I loved art, drama, music, and all the physical education. But I remember being told I could only pick one to study and take forward, because all the other subjects like science, math, English, these were all more important. And I remember being so upset having to choose which one, because I didn't want to leave all the others. And I thought, if I pick one, then I'm not going to be able to carry on any of these other subjects that I really enjoy. But yeah, this is very much the culture that we've been brought up into, where we have been trained to use the left side of the brain more. And it's very much masculine society that we live in these days. And because of that, we've neglected this side of ourselves. So we need to, like you said, like realign to that. But it takes a lot of work. And like you said, a lot of people have like breakdowns or burnout, because they're so much in their masculine, and so much in this drive state of doing and of doing what they're told they should do, or they think how they should be. They have this burnout, right, of working so much, so hard, and or just then start to question who they are and what their own reality. And sometimes that can be mentally, sometimes that can be a physical burnout. Like I know a lot of people that have had like really physical burnout, so it's really affected their body, and they've had to take breaks from work. And I think once you get to that point, then it is like the universe saying to you, okay, you need to come back into alignment. You're being called to like come back to yourself almost, and remembering who you are and remembering the feminine. So yeah, I agree with everything you said.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And is there anything else that you would like to share that you're doing right now and that is connected with this alignment?
Yeah, so I just thought I should share with you a little bit about my personal experience as well, like because I've experienced what you experienced through having a very masculine job role previously. I was actually made redundant from two of my jobs, and I really feel like it was the universe. And at this time, I was really thinking about setting up my own business, but never made the initiation to do that. And I was made redundant, and I was like, okay, I'm going to find another job. And then in my job, before I quit and left, I was working there for a year, and I was working so hard. I got ill actually quite badly. I got tonsillitis, I think, about like something ridiculous, like 6 times in 9 months or something. And I just could, like, my body was shutting down. It was telling me, you can't do this job. This job is not for you. And I knew it wasn't in alignment with what I wanted to do, but I didn't have the self-confidence, I guess, to make the step forward to create my own business. And then actually I took a break from work, and I took a month off, and I did my yoga teacher training then. And then after that, that's when I knew that I just had to follow my path. And so I handed in my notice at work and left. And and I think it's been a process, of listening to my body, following my intuition, and then having the kind of like, I think through the yoga teacher practice and the philosophy, it really helps to one, ground you, but also develop self-confidence. I think when we really know who we are, we can become really confident within ourselves. And when we're really present, we can become really confident with that in ourselves. And once we have that confidence, then we can start to really, go forward in our own mission and in our own purpose. So yeah, that's a little bit about where I got to. But yeah, so now I have, obviously my book is published, it's available, and also I'm launching my program, Holistic Entrepreneur Academy. So I'm launching that for next month. Yeah, and it's on my website, the Holistic Entrepreneur Coach. Yeah, so that's about it. But thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, and congratulations to your lovely book. And I will put your links in the show notes as well if anyone wants to connect with you or work with you with this beautiful path that you've created for yourself and helping others. So I'm really grateful that you took your time today to share your wisdom with us.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for listening today. I hope you have a beautiful week and that you could take some insights and inspiration from this episode and my beautiful guest Danielle. And if you want to connect with her work and everything that she's sharing and doing, you can find the links to her website and Instagram here in the show notes. And if you want to check out her retreat and her upcoming training, you can find that on her website as well. So let's take a deep inhalation in through the nose together. Long exhalation. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Peace Peace Peace.